Hello everyone, today we're going to focus on the gaming aspect of the Dell Venue 8 Pro. It's been recently released within the last month or so, and I got one for Christmas the other day. And I'm pretty much a PC gamer. And so yes, I play a couple of games on my phone and so forth, but mostly I play PC games via Steam and Origin, or just games that you install on a computer without a client. First thing first, the Dell Venue 8 Pro contains the latest Atom quad-core processor with integrated Intel graphics, and according to the software on the tablet, it says the graphics has 1 gigabyte of RAM. And all I know is that it works pretty well for the games that I have. Of course, you can't run them on maximum settings, but on some games, depending on how old they are, you can run them on medium or even high settings. One thing to note is that the Venue 8 Pro only has one micro USB port at the top, so you will have to use a USB on-the-go cable. This is the one for the Nokia N8 that I've had for years. So I definitely keep using this and keep it around. And it's a great quality USB on-the-go cable from Nokia. So all you do is you plug this in the top to your single port. Let me move the camera back some. And since it is a full Windows 8.1 tablet, you can use your Xbox 360 controller. So then you take your USB and plug it into the top of your USB on-the-go cable. And then your controller activates just as it would on your computer. So we're going to try a couple of games today. First, let's start with emulators, which should be the easiest for the tablet to run. So I have Nintendo 64 emulators here. And you can just either tap the icons, or you can use a mouse, or you can use a virtual mouse that I have installed here. So that way I can move around and you can see the mouse cursor moving. So we'll just test out emulators. And you can make them full screen as well. And I had all of these set up on my computer, so I just copied over the files. The Venue Pro that I have is the 32 gigabyte version, which only had about 12 gigabytes free once I turned it on, because the OS and other applications take up more space. And if you install the included Microsoft Office suite, then you have less space. So what I did is I took the 64 gigabyte card out of my 808 preview and put it into the micro SD slot. And I'm glad it has a micro SD slot so my current cards can work without an adapter. So they gave me 64 gigabytes of storage after I cleared that out. And when you install your games, make sure you select the correct drive. If you install to C, you will run out of memory. So I installed all of mine to D. You can set your buttons up however you want them. So as you can see, that runs in a great frame rate. So no problems there. And so for the sake of time, I'll just move on to try out other games. You can either use your Windows button on the side to go back to your home screen, and then go back here. You can use two fingers to close out programs. So I have Origin open there. I want to close out Project 64. And I like using the virtual mouse. Okay, and we'll just go test out a couple more Nintendo 64 games. And you got your volume controls at the top. And you see the sound plays well. We'll go to the main game. I'm going to try to skip ahead for us. So I want to go and cover Nintendo 64, arcade games, Dreamcast, and then PC games from different generations. Looks like I got a little something on my screen there.
Open the wing.
So I just skip ahead.
Slippy, get back here. Slippy, watch out. Don't be on your tail.
Whoa! Help me!
And so you see that it plays at a great frame rate.
Thanks, Fox. I thought they had me.
We're entering Corneria City now. Horrible.
Okay, we'll move on to something a little more demanding. So as you can see, it definitely can handle the Nintendo 64 easily. So I'll pause that. We'll go with our menu button here, which your home screen button is right here on the side. Then we'll go back, use my virtual mouse. I'm gonna close that window. Let's take it a little bit higher onto arcade games. And I actually own Killer Instinct Arcade, so we'll go take a look at that. I've been a big fan of Killer Instinct since 1994. One thing to note about the tablet, it has 2 gigabytes of RAM. And so depending on what you have open, it'll affect your game performance. And there have been times where I've left Steam open and updating while I'm playing something else. And then I get a memory's low error, or not an error, but a warning telling me that I'm almost out of memory. So then you have to close those programs. Now, I was really surprised at the performance of MAME because even the Nexus 5 with quad core has a problem running MAME games. But I always tell my friends there's a difference between a mobile quad core processor than a desktop class processor. And so you can tell the difference easily. Some people, they just look at the amount of cores and the gigahertz and all that good stuff. But we're talking about a different class of processor. And as you can see, everything's running smoothly. And since it's running smoothly, it's just like having an arcade in your hand. So it's definitely powerful enough to run Killer Instinct with full controller support. So we will test out Killer Instinct 2, which is a little more demanding of an arcade game. So we're gonna hit our home button. And see, it still runs in the background since this is a full computer. So I'm probably getting beat up in the background by Cinder. Okay, so we close that out. Go back to Killer Instinct Arcade. This time we'll go to Killer Instinct 2. And the battery life on this tablet is really impressive to me. It's listed as being 10 hours of battery life. And I've gamed a lot on it over the Christmas holidays and things. And I haven't had to really worry about the battery life. And as you can see here, everything's running smooth with Killer Instinct 2. I'll put some credits in. Let's see. I'll pick Tusk. I really like Tusk, so I hope they bring him back in the new Killer Instinct for the Xbox One. And so it's pretty smooth. There are a couple of sometimes the audio gives a couple of problems. but it's definitely more than acceptable. So even doing all your ultras and things, it's perfectly smooth. Did my super ender. And so definitely playable, which is really impressive for a tablet that is very inexpensive. I bought mine for $249, and again, this is the 32 gigabyte version. Okay, let's take it a little bit higher as far as the programs that push the hardware. Okay, so we're moving on from the arcade. Let's go to the Dreamcast. And now the Dreamcast was released in 1999, and it basically ran the same hardware as the Naomi arcade board, which pushed 3 to 5 million polygons per second. So a pretty demanding system at the time. And depending on the computer you have, even your desktop may have some problems emulating Dreamcast games, depending on the graphics card that you have. I believe I may have opened 2 instances of this program, so I may have to close one. If you ever notice that it starts moving slowly, it could be that you open 2 instances and that it might be close to being out of RAM. So I'm going to launch Ready to Rumble Boxing, which is one of my favorite games for the Dreamcast. And I also have other Dreamcast games such as Soul Calibur and all these different games that I actually own. I have them all still tucked away in the box in the basement. I'll never forget September 9th, 1999, when the Dreamcast came out, and I stood in line at a local Walmart waiting for it to be on sale. Very good times in the history of games. So fast forward to today, we have the Sega Dreamcast on a full Windows 8.1 tablet that is portable enough to carry in your pocket, if you have big pockets, that is, or you can put it in a bag. So we're going to get started here. And I could load, but we're just going to go right to arcade mode. And depending on how much RAM you're using, it does affect the audio sometimes. So if you're ever gaming on the Venue 8 Pro and you notice things are slow and stuttery, the best thing to do is either close some of your programs or restart the tablet. And a special note, all of my games are installed to the SD card, which is a Class 10 SDXC card, 64 gigabytes of storage. And as you can see here, everything is really, really smooth and detailed.
Wearing the blue trunks with green trim and weighing in at 232 pounds.
Playing the games, it does, turn it down there. It does utilize the CPU 100%. And so I was getting some weird freezes and pauses a couple of times. And you can tell that the graphics card in here, the Intel HD integrated graphics, is very capable to run this. But if you ever get hard pauses where the game literally stops, not slow down, but it actually pauses to where you can't play it, that's when you need to close programs or restart. One of my favorite combos. And if you're wondering, this video has been recorded on the Nokia Lumia 1020. Which is running the latest Lumia Black firmware. So no slowdowns whatsoever. And it's just like playing it on the Sega Dreamcast. And the screen on the Venue 8 Pro is a 1200 by 800 screen, IPS display, has great viewing angles. It's actually a really, really good screen. Ooh, good hit. take him out in the gut. Got him. So as you can see, the Dreamcast performs really well. But just to show you that it's not just a fluke and it's just Ready to Rumble playing that well, we'll go ahead and go to a different one. Now, the Dreamcast really grabs hold of the system, so you can't actually go in and hit desktop and go back. It won't take you out of the game. When you hit desktop, it takes you right back into it. So what you have to do is do the Task Manager and then shut it down. Shortcut for Task Manager on the Venue 8 Pro is the Home button, the Windows Home button, plus the Power button. Press both of those together, it gets you to Task Manager. Then from there, it takes you here, and you can go down to your Task Manager. The game is still playing, but we can close it out from here at the bottom. And that's just the more excellent multitasking of Windows 8.1. And as we see here, if I go to Performance, we'll see that the CPU was maxed out while I was playing the Dreamcast. Okay. And now, not every game runs as smooth, but the processor does an excellent job of handling the games. So we'll switch to something else. One of my favorite games is Soul Calibur. And most of these games can be bought on Amazon or eBay or so forth for a fraction of the cost that they used to be when you buy them, bought them originally. So you can get Ready to Rumble and games like that for 99 cents, $2, $5. More expensive games like Soul Calibur, depending on if you buy it used, $30, $40, $50, even upwards of $100, depending on what you buy. But it's definitely worth it, in my opinion, if you're able to get these games, because they are good games. I just always put it on 60 hertz. Doesn't really make too much of a difference. I did notice some stuttering and slowdown in this before when I played it. So it depends on what you have open in the background. And I did unlock all the characters on my desktop computer. So when I just copied the folder to my SD card, I kept all of my saved data. So if you play emulators a lot, it will be a good idea to just copy those files. And see, this runs a little slower. Still very much so playable. Good counter there. I always like to stump them. Oh, he's fighting back. Got him. I'm dead. And I am. So see, it plays really well. And I am definitely impressed. I did not expect the Atom processor, even though it's quad core, or the Intel integrated graphics to be able to play games this well. Okay, so that's Soul Calibur. We're going to do our task manager here. It's going to get us back here. 2 fingers is, in essence, a right click. And so that just goes to show that the tablet is definitely able to run Dreamcast games, which are pretty demanding games. And again, everything is running from my SD card, which is a Class 10 card. And the transfer read and write speeds are fast enough to where you're able to play these games via the SD card. And I'll just start Crazy Taxi for just a moment. Then we'll move on to some actual PC native games, starting with Far Cry. And I chose 50 hertz for this one. So either or, I just choose 50 or 60. They both work on the tablet, and they don't really affect the output of the game. And they're still very much so playable. Now, I won't actually play Crazy Taxi since I don't want this video to be too long, but I'll just show you, well, yeah, I might as well start it.
Hey, come on over.
See a little audio skips there. So definitely not trying to hide anything from you viewers. There are times when the audio does stutter and the game slows down. So we'll go right into it. But considering we're playing on a tablet that's very thin and light, it's really, really impressive. And the fact that we're playing from the SD card is impressive as well. Now, Crazy Taxi runs a lot slower than the other games. I've only played it a couple times. You can see the controller is vibrating like it just does on the Dreamcast. So that's the engine. So the frame rate for Crazy Taxi is a lot slower. This is only my second time playing it on the tablet because I've been playing my fighting games more. But as you can see, it's still playable. The music's still keeping up good. Give me a good slide. Oh, the truck stopped me. Okay. So we'll move on as the controller dances around there. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stop that there. Okay. See, CPU is maxed out. Okay. And let's see. I'll unplug that. My controller was shaking his life away. So this video is currently 22 minutes long. The last couple of things that I will cover is we have Far Cry, the original Far Cry, Unreal Tournament 3, and also Sonic Generations. We have Quake 3 as well, Quake 3 Arena, but for sure that will run at a good frame rate because it's a much older game. But let's check out Far Cry. Now, not to spoil it by talking about this earlier before I get into the game, but Far Cry is actually able to run on the max settings on the tablet, which is very, very nice. You can notice a slight degradation in the frame rate at max settings, but it's able to run it, and it's definitely playable. So when I'm in the game, I'll switch to it. Currently, I play on the high settings, so that way I can get the maximum frame rate with great graphic quality as well. It does Steam does verify your installation if you install to the SD card every time, but that's just a small nuisance considering that it's full Steam installed to a micro SD card on a tablet that costs under $300 depending on when you bought it. So I don't mind Steam checking my installation every time. So once again, another game that's controllable with the Xbox 360 for Windows controller, or however you like to say that. So as this is a full PC game, it takes a little longer to load. The other games were emulators, and they emulate whatever respective system that they were on at the time. So their load times are respective to that system. Well, this is running directly native here, and it loads just as it would on the desktop. And eventually I can skip through all the things here at the beginning. Okay. And actually, there's something I forgot to do. So pardon me, I have to go back and I'll explain what I'm doing here. So I'm quitting out of Far Cry. I couldn't figure out a way to get Far Cry to work with my 360 controller. So what I did is I downloaded a free program. And that's what this P is here. It's the Pinnacle Game Profiler. And what this allows is it creates profiles for your controller based upon the games that you have. And whenever you get a new game, you can open this program and you can download the profile for that particular game. So that way it auto configures all of your buttons and things. And sure, I could have done this manually by opening the game, make sure my controller's connected, clicking on each button, and then saying, okay, I want X to be to crouch. I want R to be the button to shoot. Well, I really didn't want to do that. So I downloaded Pinnacle Game Profiler. And it's a trial version, day 2 of 20. So I have 18 more days left to use it. And I believe I'm going to buy this because it makes it so easy. So when I installed Far Cry, I just went here and I downloaded the Far Cry profile. Same thing for Quake and a couple of other games. Now for newer games, you shouldn't have to worry about that. So when I play Unreal Tournament 3, plug in my controller, it recognizes it, it maps the buttons. But for older games like Quake 3 and Far Cry and some even older than that, you may have a hard time mapping your buttons because they were out before this controller was invented. Well, anyway, I have it installed. I have the Far Cry profile, and instead of clicking it from the desktop like I did before, which only opens the game without any of the profile settings, you have to open Pinnacle and then select what you want to play and hit play. And then it shows that it mapped the buttons for me. And in 16 seconds, it's going to go ahead and start the game, or I can just hit close. So for time's sake, I'll hit close. Now it's going to load Far Cry through Steam with the profile for this controller. So that way, when I go in, I can play it with my controller without me having to set up anything. I'm not sure how much Pinnacle costs. I haven't looked it up. But believe me, it is definitely worth it if you play older games that require controller setups, or if you just play games and you just want to use your Xbox 360 controller. And I believe it works for other controllers too, but I only have the Xbox controller, so that's all I know about so far. Okay, let's get us into the game. And as you can see, it even mapped the stick to work as the mouse. So now I can move the stick, the right stick, and I can go right into the game. Okay, and I got a couple of saves here. I'm gonna go into my last save. And you can also move your finger on the screen too. As you can see, the background was moving really smoothly. Far Cry is a pretty old game, but it was a really high benchmark of a game at the time, with great graphics and sound, great storyline, and it really pushed the envelope in graphics. So after all these years, to be able to play it on a tablet with the maximum graphics settings, with the controller, in a device that you can take with you, is really a special achievement. I have an iPad 4, and I have a Galaxy Tab 2.0, and yeah, they're tablets. Yeah, the screens are about the same size. iPad has a bigger screen, but they cannot run full Windows programs. And say what you may about Windows 8, you may not like it and so forth, but the fact that you can play the same exact games that you play on your desktop, the same exact games on your tablet, is really an amazing achievement. And I'm glad to see that finally begin to come to fruition for Microsoft. Yes, Far Cry loads this slowly. It does on the desktop as well. But when you get in, finally, you're in. But as I was saying, the ability to be able to play desktop class programs, applications, games, things like that, web browsers, is really something special. And that's something that the iPad and the various Android tablets cannot compare. So here we are. We are in Far Cry. And everything's moving really, really smoothly. If I get my controller out of the way. Right now, I don't have it on the maximum settings. But I can press start. And I can move over and change that just to show you how great the tablet is. So we're going to go down here to advanced. So I have them on very high so far, or on high rather. We can switch that to very high and hit apply. It says you must restart the game to make the changes, but it actually makes some of them while you're in there. And so even on very high and high, you can see it moves extremely well. So this is desktop gaming on the mobile device. Yes, I like Modern Combat 4 and all those great things, but nothing can really compare to having a full PC game. And you can set your buttons up however you want to set them up to do different things. So you can crouch and all that good stuff and jump. So that's Far Cry. As you can see, everything moves smoothly. Okay, so we'll pause and we'll exit there. We can hit our home button. Well, actually, with this one, I can't go back because it's native to the game. So what I would do is exit out just as I would on my desktop. I'm going to quit. And then, yes, we really want to quit. And that gets us out. Okay. And we're at 31 minutes in the video. So I will move right along. I'll show you two more things. Unreal Tournament, which is an older game. And then lastly would be Sonic Generations, which is a newer game and is much more demanding. So I believe that would be the game that would really stress the quad-core Atom processor with the integrated graphics, the Intel HD graphics. And I believe those are 7th generation graphics. So this processor and GPU isn't anywhere near as weak as the previous Atom processors. And I used to always refer people away from Atom processors. And I would recommend that they would get a AMD APU, like an A4, an A6, or whatever they can find. But currently, I haven't found a tablet that has an APU in there from AMD at a reasonable price. So I was thrilled to see that the Intel Atom processor, the quad-core version, with the new integrated graphics, performs so well at gaming. I honestly thought that I would only be able to browse the web and do Excel spreadsheets and things like that, and maybe play some Metro style or tablet optimized apps like Asphalt 8 and so forth. But this processor is good enough to where we can play full PC games here. We're going to skip through all of this. And as you notice, it was saying that we needed a Pro, Intel Pro or Core 2 Duo is what they recommended. We're going to go in here to Instant Action, which I could move it like that, or I'll just select it. Or maybe I didn't set everything up right. Okay, let's see. Oops, don't want to log out. So one of these buttons I set up in here, which I don't remember what it is. There we go. Which is not allowing me to select. Okay, so why is log out? Okay, that's my select button in the back. I do apologize, everyone. I've only played this once on the computer when I installed it last night. Okay. So it looks like I may need to fix my buttons here. Okay. But I just want to show you guys how the processor is able to handle Unreal Tournament 3. I will have to configure my buttons later. I didn't launch the profile or anything for this game. I just launched it without it. And as always, Unreal has to load in the graphics and things. The textures, rather. Okay. I do have the textures on high, so as you can see, they look pretty good. And as being a PC gamer, I actually do not like playing with the controller. I normally play with the mouse and keyboard. So I'm just no good with the controller. Okay, we're gonna get my flat cannon. As you can see, it runs at a great frame rate. Ooh, nasty. Everything loads quickly. And just as a reminder, all of this is running off of the micro SD card. So even the more impressive. Got him. Take that rocket launcher. And charge that up there. Okay. So it definitely performs well, and it is very, very amazing. So we'll go ahead and we will exit this game. Okay, put that on exit. Yes, I am sure. Since I didn't really set the controls, it's a mixture of touchscreen and buttons, and I really need to get these set. Last but not least, Sonic Generations. A very demanding game, considering it is Sonic in 3 dimensions. And you know, Sonic runs really fast, so you need a fast processor and a fast GPU to keep up with him. So we'll see how the Dell Venue 8 Pro does. I want to thank you all if you've stayed with me this long. This is a 36-minute video already. I want to thank you for watching the video, taking the time out of your day to check out the gaming here on the Dell Venue 8 Pro. And it sounds like we're having maybe some stuttering problems. I probably should have made sure everything was closed before I just launched the game. Because if Unreal is still open in any way, Sonic is not going to run that well. So let's see what we got. Okay. And it looks like I have 2 things here. So we're going to close that. Because we are only dealing with 2 gigabytes of RAM. Okay. Now we got those closed, and we shall try again. See what we have this time. Now, I was playing this yesterday, so I'm not sure why it's not loading this time. There we go. Just took a little while longer. I knew it works. Poor Venue 8 Pro may need a restart after so much gaming. Okay, we got start. I'm gonna continue my game. And once again, I just copied my, I installed Steam, and then I installed the game, and Steam copied over my progress from my desktop computer. And as you can already tell, it's running a little slow. Okay, we're going to go to this stage here. And you can change your GPU power settings for performance or quality and so forth. Since the Venue 8 Pro only has 1 USB port, micro USB, you can't actually charge it to make everything run in maximum power. So it's running off battery power. Okay. And I'm boosting here. If I had to guess, I would think the frame rate is in the teens. It's taking him a long time to get to the ground. And I have this configured to run in the lowest settings possible. But even on the lowest settings, it's a really demanding game. So playing Sonic Generations on the Venue 8 Pro is a test of patience. But as you can see, it does work. And I did manage to actually complete a stage. And you can see the water stuff is still just as detailed. So it's really pushing the Atom processor. And all the blur effects, motion blur, and everything is still in full effect. I'm holding the X button to boost. So I'm basically just powering my way through everything. The music still plays at the correct speed. But it's hard to keep up with what's going on since it's not smooth. Sonic has always been about speed, even in the Genesis days with blast processing. So this is definitely not blast processing. Fortunately, with the boost, I can pretty much power through stuff without worrying about it. Gonna hit some tricks in the air here using the stick. Push both buttons together. I'm almost finished with this video. It's going on over 40 minutes. But I did want to show you that the Venue 8 Pro is a capable gaming device as long as you keep it into perspective. Games like this, they obviously push the processor more than it can bear. There's a lot going on, the reflections in the water and everything, so the processor isn't able to really handle that. High polygon models. And so it's really struggling. So as long as you're not trying to play the latest games, the latest and greatest, I don't expect to be able to play Battlefield 4 on here. But that's, it doesn't have an R9 290X processor in the tablet. But I can play emulators and PC games of the previous generations. And I can play those without much problem. And so that has been Sonic Generations on the Dell Venue 8 Pro. And we'll go ahead and exit out. See, even the main menu is a little bit stuttery there. I'm sure my CPU is completely maxed out. But out of all the games we tested, if it comes down to 1 or 2 games not being able to run that well, I still think that the Atom processor, the quad-core Atom processor, and the latest Intel integrated graphics have done a fantastic job at powering this Dell Venue 8 Pro. And just the thought of being able to play desktop class programs on a tablet is a really great achievement, as I've said before. I hope that you all enjoyed this video as I try my best to exit out. And if all else fails, you can always go to the task manager. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it gave you a good example of how the Venue 8 Pro works as far as gaming with real PC applications. And as you can see that it works well with these type of games, then of course it works well with the newer titles that are designed for mobiles. So I'm shutting it down here, just like a Windows phone. You can slide that down. So I have it in a nice, it's asking me, do I want to shut down? Have it in a nice case here. It's magnetic. You can fold it back. The tablet is really, really thin. And so it folds like that. Creates its own stand, which is how I've had it. Or you can use it this way if you need a better viewing angle. Same fold, but it lays down like that. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope this gave you a better idea of how the Venue 8 Pro performs as a gaming device. It does get warm in this area here, which seems to be where the processor is. So it gets a little warm there, but nothing that's unbearable. Thank you again. Have a great day, safe travels if you're on the road. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.